John McClain, the Hall of Famer, joins us, and we will get to baseball and the Astros and the Rangers. Rangers winning today, as Craig mentioned earlier, 4-0 in Tampa, in actually St. Petersburg. John, thank you for your time. Have the Texans found gold in CJ Stroud?
They have. He's been outstanding. I just tweeted that CJ Stroud, his 22nd birthday today, joins this group of quarterbacks who've thrown for at least 1,200 yards without an interception in the first 4 games of the season. Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, and Peyton Manning. It's a pretty good group. And he's second in history to Cam Newton for yards over the first 4 games. And he's the first guy in history to have at least, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, without an interception in his first 4 games. So he's been fantastic. Texans have won their last 2 by 20 at Jacksonville, 24 over the Steelers, a blowout, and people here are just flabbergasted.
When do you think they'll get some relief on the offensive line?
It's interesting because they were, in these last 2 games, they played the third left tackle, third left guard. The third left guard tore up ligament, and they had to replace him with a guy who came off the practice squad, a backup center, third right tackle. So the backups who were starting are hurt. But that line did not give up a sack in the last 2 games. TJ Watt went into the game with 6 sacks. Steelers had 13. They had none. Watt had 1 hit on Stroud and 2 tackles. So those backups did a hell of a job. Now they get their 2 tackles back. They get their center back. So they ought to be in better shape, but it's hard to improve on what they've done these last 2 games. One thing that should help them is they should be able to run the ball better.
John, Jalen Petrie come back, everything okay as far as him and his return and how he's looked so far?
He had a great game. He had a blitz that screwed up quarterback Kenny Pickett. He had another big play in the backfield. One of the things I'm going to talk to him about tomorrow, in the first quarter, cornerback Steven Nelson made a leaping interception on a deep ball about down the middle. And he got up and he started running, and Petrie was kind of to his left and signaling him, follow me. And so he kind of did. So Petrie turns and runs down the field and sees number 14 from Pittsburgh. And, I mean, he hit the guy. He knocked him down. And then he jumped on top of him. He was rude and crude to that defensive back. And he went to Baylor. I'm going to tell him, I can't believe you do those kind of things coming from Baylor.
But you loved it with the Texans, right?
Oh, my goodness. He was outstanding. They loved Petrie just like every Baylor fan knew that they would. You know, he missed 2 games with a bruised lung, and now he's fine. And that defense is playing way above what we thought that was capable of playing with D'Amico Ryans making the calls.
John, the Cowboys have had 3 wins this season in 4 games, which have all been ridiculous blowouts because their defense and special teams have made huge plays. Their offense is fine. I mean, that's the best thing you can say about it right now. They're not great in the red zone. So are they really a team that can contend long-term, or is it a little bit of smoke and mirrors these first 4?
Well, first of all, people can just forget about the Arizona game. That was a game in which they just didn't take them seriously. Now, we're all pretty sure they're not going to blow out the game coming up. And one of the things, though, Dak Prescott, the wide receivers, tight end, and running game, they're going to have to be better. They're going to have to be more consistent because 49ers got a good defense. They've got balance. That defense is going to go up against the most balanced offense in the league, along with Philadelphia, that runs the ball a lot. Christian McCaffrey has been magnificent. Brock Purdy had 1 incompletion in the game Sunday. So they have a streak going back to last season in which they've scored 30 or more. I'll be surprised they do it against the Cowboys. You know, you hope if you're a Cowboys fan that pass rush can make Purdy's life miserable. What the Cowboys need to do that other teams have not been able to do is get a big lead and force Purdy to beat you. So far, he's had the benefit of a big play running game, and he's got big play tight end, big play wide receiver. Nobody has the offensive balance that the 49ers have.
John, what do you make of the Chicago Bears' current struggles and that Denver loss just adding to them this past weekend? I did see if there's a bright spot as it currently stands, they'd have the top 2 picks in next year's draft. And so that seems like it's a great thing to hang your hat on. But just what have you made of that whole situation out there in Chicago?
Well, let me point out, there's a reason the Bears have never had a great passing quarterback, ever. The Soldier Field is on Lake Michigan. The wind blows constantly. And that's in August, September, and October before the weather gets miserable. Just like Cleveland. It's on Lake Erie. Cleveland has not had a 4,000-yard passer since 1980 in Brian's sight. They build around the running game, physicality. They build on defense, special teams, the trenches. And if I'm Caleb Williams, I don't care, and I'm going to get $22 million to sign. I'm thinking long term. I'm saying, okay, how many more Burger King commercials, national, can you give me? And see if they can get it up a little bit. And then hope like heck some other quarterback goes to the Bears. And if the Bears are awful next year, then he'll go somewhere else. People were saying they'd do that if it was Arizona. Phoenix looks a whole lot better, a place to live and play than Chicago in the winter. And so I'll be real surprised if that happens. Now, Justin Fields for 3 quarters had a perfect rating. He had 4 touchdowns. He had 1 incompletion, I think. He was tremendous. And then the play calling was bad. The coach made a terrible decision to go for a first down instead of kick a field goal. There was a lot of coaches making a lot of bad decisions during games. And it's amazing. They've kind of gone analytical crazy. And the one thing that gets me, analytics say, let's go for 4th and 1 on our 24 because we have a 68% better chance to win. Well, analytics don't take into account who you're playing against, whether you're playing against a great defense or a bad defense or who's hurt and who's not. You can't just go by analytics. It should be a tool, and that's it. Somebody needs to tell that to Chargers coach Brandon Staley, who's the worst there is about going for it at the wrong time.
John, are the Bears going to build a new stadium, though? Didn't their owners buy, like, a site?
Yeah, they bought a site in the suburbs. They're going to build a stadium there. The mayor is fighting it. They want them downtown. They say they'll build it. And it's like if Cleveland had built its new stadium on Lake Erie next to the old one, which was called Mistake by the Lake. If they built it in the suburbs, the wind wouldn't be nearly as bad. And I don't know if the Bears are thinking about that because they want control of the stadium where they have final say on who comes in there. They get benefit. Suburbs will give owners anything if they want it. So they're going to get a new stadium one way or another, and I think they're headed to the suburbs instead of Soldier Field, and that would be too bad.
John, the Astros are in. They win the West on the tiebreaker. Rangers won earlier today against Tampa Bay. There's a little, this is some bad blood if the Rangers and Astros meet, which I don't think they will because the Rangers have to go through first Tampa, no matter the one-game victory, and then Baltimore. Your thoughts about this? It's kind of a little bit of back and forth between some media and the Rangers organization, vice versa.
Well, Chris Young's general manager made a fool out of himself, I thought. Now, of course, people in the Metroplex don't think that. Going after a reporter, Brian McTaggart, for an innocuous tweet he put out about the Rangers celebrated with a champagne celebration, which they did. We all saw the pictures. While the Astros toasted champagne, wore their T-shirts, and said, we got bigger fish to fry, which is win the division. And they won 8-1 on Sunday, and the Rangers lost 1-0, and Young just went crazy, acted like he was chastising Brian McTaggart, who's the least controversial reporter I've ever seen, talking about Houston journalists, talking about everybody hates him. It's great for the rivalry. Now there will be people who call him a genius, saying he took the pressure off his team and put it on himself. And so the Rangers did a great job today. And I would hope Chris Young would thank Brian McTaggart for helping them win, since they intimated that he helped them lose. But it's a great accomplishment by the Rangers. I want them to win. I want the Astros to win. I want them to play for the World Series. This rivalry has become unbelievable.
Was it McTaggart's tweet, or was it the infographic that they put out that said, that the team put out, that said, we celebrate championships in Houston?
No, he was mad at Brian McTaggart, called him, said journalist, classless, all these things for telling the truth. They did have a champagne celebration.
All right, John, let's end on a historic note and a much happier note.
I turned it off. I was so disgusted, and I started running errands, and I'm on a tweet thread with a bunch of my friends who are Baylor grads, and like me and everybody else, they were just disgusted with the 35-7 score, and I wasn't paying any attention. I get in the car, I look at my phone, and I see that it's 35-33, and I'm like, holy bleep. So I ran to the closest place, which was a Mexican restaurant. I ran in the bar, and I made them change the channel just so I could see the winning field goal. And then I held my breath, because I'm thinking, okay, on SportsCenter tonight, they're going to say boomer, boom, a 59-yard game-winning field goal. Thank God he didn't. And congratulations to those fighting Baylor Bears.
What do you think about that throw from the end zone about 30 yards behind the line of
Never
scrimmage?
seen anything like it. Never.
It was unbelievable.
That was an act of God.
Yeah, if that was a Heisman Trophy candidate, that would have been his Heisman moment. But man, did they need a win? I don't know what happens against Tech Saturday night, but everything tasted better. Probably drinks were better. The smelling atmosphere was better. But what a game. What a huge game.
I said on all my shows, Baylor missed the best comeback in franchise history. The Astros come back from the dead to win the division by winning 5 of 6 at Seattle. And then Arizona and the Texans beat the hell out of the Steelers. First time since they've beaten them since 2011. And J.J. Watt got honored here. It was a great weekend if you were a sports fan in Houston.
You'd think somebody who covered the Oilers and the Bills in that crazy game would never, was it the Titans, would never have.
No, it was the Oilers. Oilers and Bills.
Oilers and Bills would never have turned off a team down by 28 like you did.
Well, if my heart had not belonged to Baylor since 1960, I wouldn't have done it. And plus, I was in the press box and I couldn't get away on the other one, or I would have walked out of the Buffalo. I would have turned off the Buffalo Oilers game because the Oilers were going to run away with it.
Thank you, John.
Second Bears.
John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist, Tuesdays, most every Tuesday at 5:30.